All You Need to Know, the Bloomberg Quint podcast that prepares you for the day's business. Good morning. This is the All You Need to Know podcast, and I'm Alex Matthew. Over the next few minutes, we'll tell you everything that you need to know to stay ahead of the curve. Today is the 23rd of July. The bill to amend the landmark Right to Information Act was passed by the Lok Sabha yesterday amid allegations by the meagre opposition that it was being diluted. The opposition has dubbed the bill RTI Elimination Bill and wants to send it to a select committee for further scrutiny, something it hopes that will happen once the bill goes to the Rajya Sabha for approval. The proposed changes to the Act involve the salaries and tenures of information commissioners at the states and centre. They currently have a 5-year tenure, but once the amendment is enforced, will have terms as may be prescribed by the central government. Their salaries, instead of being on par with that of Election Commission officials, will be decided by the central government. Activists say that this is a coercive measure that will interfere with their freedom to make independent decisions. And while that was taking place in the Lok Sabha, India successfully launched its second mission to the moon a week after a technical snag forced an earlier attempt to be postponed. The Chandrayaan-2 was launched at 2:43 p.m. from a tiny barrier island in southeastern India. The mission aims to do something no one has done before: reach the south pole of the moon. And, in case you didn't know, India plans to send a mission to study the sun next year, another to Venus 3 years later, and eventually establish its own space station. In another important update, President Donald Trump offered to help resolve India and Pakistan's long-running conflict over the territory of Kashmir, citing an invitation from Prime Minister Narendra Modi that was later denied by the Indian government. Now to the big corporate news. The joint auditors of home financier Dewan Housing Finance, or DHFL, have listed several qualifications and disclaimers to the company's annual financial statement and said its ability to continue operating is in significant doubt. The company itself has said that it expects an in-principle approval from its lenders for its resolution plan by the end of the month. It said in a statement that the ability of the company to continue as a going concern is predicated upon its ability to monetize its assets, secure funding from bankers and investors, restructure its liabilities, and recommence operations. In other news, the government panel constituted to come up with recommendations for regulations on virtual currencies has suggested a ban on private cryptocurrencies, but said that an official digital rupee in consultation with the RBI could be considered. Crude oil prices continue to be in focus, with tensions persisting in West Asia. Iran handed down death sentences to several of its nationals accused of being part of a CIA-trained spy network. President Trump denounced the report as totally false on Twitter. In the wake of the capture of a British naval vessel by Iran, UK Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt turned up the heat, labelling Iran's actions as state piracy. He said European governments will assemble a naval mission to provide safe passage for ships through the Persian Gulf. U.S. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin and Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer will probably travel to Beijing next week for negotiations with Vice Premier Liu He. It will be the first face-to-face meeting since Presidents Trump and Xi agreed at the G20 to resume talks. Separately, China said that the US is undermining the WTO's dispute settlement system in various ways. In international markets, US stocks gained, led by tech shares. The Dow and the S&P 500 ended higher by 0.1 and 0.3% respectively, while the tech-heavy Nasdaq climbed as much as 0.7%. Asian stocks are off to a positive start, with all three early risers trading comfortably in the green. It was another weak session yesterday for Indian equities, though. The session was marked by heavy selling by foreign investors. FIIs net sold another 1,900 crore rupees worth of equities in yesterday's session. With that, it's over to Darshan Mehta for the trade setup for the day in India. Morning, Darshan. How are we looking today?
Hi Alex, good morning. Good morning everyone. Global cues are decent at this point of time. The SGX Nifty is indicating a positive outlook. But Z Entertainment, L&T and HUL will report numbers today. These are the Nifty companies, and more importantly, it will be important to see what Z does as far as any kind of strategic sale is concerned. Among the other numbers, there is NIIT Tech, Torrent Pharma, CRISIL, HDFC Life Insurance, JK Paper, Jyoti Labs, Kajaria Ceramics, M&M Financial, SBI Life, Schaeffler and Indian Overseas Bank that will report numbers today. In terms of numbers announced after market hours, Kotak Bank, the NII was in line, PAT was below estimates, the NPAs and margin remained stable. The profit was dragged by weaker performance of the subsidiaries. The bank is not seeing any meaningful stress in both agri and retail. The bank continues to remain very cautious on certain segments like the crop segment, and the management says that growth will come in mainly from the consumer lending segment. CLSA has raised the target price to 1750 from 1665. Bank of America Merrill Lynch has raised it to 1600 from 1500. But Macquarie has downgraded the stock to a neutral and cut the target price to 1400 from 1445. TVS Motors results were in line with estimates with higher margins. The depreciation was up 28% and finance cost was up 62%, which impacted the profits. TVS has cut the FY20 industry outlook from a 6 to 8% YOY growth to a decline now. CLSA is saying that the margins are unlikely to improve amid cost pressure and weak demand. BofA is saying that the margin remains a concern given the weak volume outlook and cuts the target price to 325 from 390. Credit Suisse, however, upgrades the stock to a neutral as it sees limited downside, while MK has downgraded the counter to a sell. United Spirits beats the estimates, but the gross margin remained muted. Reported numbers were boosted on account of a one-time sale of bulk scotch during the quarter, and the margin beat was on account of lower employee and advertising cost. Just Dial was above estimates on all fronts. The revenue growth was led by gains in the paid campaign on lower realization. Weak number from Coromandel International. Kirloskar Ferrous Canfin Homes reported strong set of numbers, while the IT companies Mastek and Aptech also reported weak set of numbers. The details will be there in the copy, all you need to know. Stocks to watch out for DHFL. The NSE has suspended trading in company's 8 NCDs with effect from July 31st due to redemption. The company also says that they have formed a committee to finalize resolution plan involving restructuring of the debt. So that's something that you need to watch out for. But the auditors also raised significant doubt on the going concern status and List 6 qualifications. Among the other news, BSE has signed an MOU with Shanghai Stock Exchange to facilitate maintenance of orderly security markets in both India and China. And there are a couple of companies which will be out of the F&O post the September series. Arvind, Birlasoft, Engineers India, Hindustan Zinc, IDBI Bank, Kajaria Ceramics, MCX, Oracle Finance and Raymond will be out of F&O. But there's much more you need to know before trade actually starts. For that, log on to our website bloombergquint.com and click on the All You Need to Know tab and you will be prepared for morning trade.
Thanks, Darshan. That's all we have for you on this podcast, but there's a lot more on the website bloombergquint.com, so do check it out. This is Alex Matthews signing off. Have a lovely day.
I hope you enjoyed listening to All You Need to Know. Did you know that you could listen to the show on the IVM Podcast app? On the IVM Podcast app, along with this, we have a number of other shows which you think you'll enjoy. Listen to Cyrus Says with Cyrus Brocha as the host. Listen to Paisa Vaisa with Anupam Gupta. The Scene and the Unseen with Amit Verma, or Shunya One hosted by Shiladitya Mukhopadhyay and myself. Check out the IVM Podcast app to get more talk content that you will enjoy.